aspirants, today is 4th of September and I welcome you all on a series on what to read in the Hindu newspaper. I am 𝗵𝗵𝗃 𝗔𝗍𝗆, Senior Mentor at Prepp IAS. While going through the articles, we will not only see its relevance from prelims and mains perspective, but we will also try interlinking it with other GS papers as well. I am here to align your newspaper reading as a part of our GS syllabus. So let's get started. The very first article that is worth our attention in today's Hindu newspaper is about GST Council approves 2-rate tax slabs effective from September 22nd. Now this is relevant for GS paper 3 Indian economy and also GS paper 2 governance under the theme fiscal federalism. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article covers simplification and rationalization of GST structure. There is special 40% sin tax on certain goods, relief on insurance, medicine and cement sector. Then from prelims perspective, the areas where we need to brush up our knowledge is on composition of GST Council under Article 279A. What is sin good taxation activity? Which items are exempted under GST as of now? For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen as I have written over here also with regard to ease of doing business, federalism, what could be its implication with regard to inflation, then how it will lead to increase in consumption activities, then federalism debates that hovers around this particular topic, wherein center and state revenue distribution is questioned at times. Then we can even interlink it with GS paper 2, wherein cooperative federalism can also be linked. While GS paper 3 under the theme inclusive growth can also be linked while going through this particular article. In this manner, when we map our syllabus, which all direction we can link this particular topic and article can be seen. Moving on, the next important article that is worth our attention is on editorials page, and that talks about excess rainfall and flood, rain and repeat. So this particular article is relevant for GS paper 1, primarily under the theme physical geography, wherein monsoon can be revised. And at the same time, GS paper 3, disaster management and environment can also be linked while going through this particular article. I have already mentioned the key theme for this, how this is to be seen. So with regard to prelims perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of reservoir. This particular article has talked about several reservoirs in the form of Srisailam, Nagarjuna Sagar, how the flooding situation can be linked. Then concept of flooding cushion that you can write as a case study in ethics and essay paper as well, and as an apt example to control urban flooding. Also, stormwater drainage can be linked. NDMA guidelines with regard to flooding and its functions can be revised. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen primarily for GS paper 3 disaster management, how real-time monitoring of hydrological modeling can be used to predict urban flooding, then flood banks and how the development this can be done under the theme society, as well as the maximum impact of flooding is being felt by vulnerable sections, and under the theme ethics as well, GS paper 4, wherein negligence versus accountability and governance can be quoted while going through this particular article. And in this manner, this particular article can be linked for not only for prelims and mains, but how this can be used as other papers also. Moving on, the next important article that is worth reading in today's Hindu newspaper talks about India's recent maritime reforms needs course correction. Now, when we map this particular topic in our GS syllabus, this will fall under GS paper 2, Parliament and Federalism, GS paper 3, Infrastructure, Economy and Internal Security, GS paper 2, IR and Governance as well. The key theme that has been discussed in this particular article talks about India's new Port Act, Merchant Shipping Act, Coastal Shipping Act, modernization versus centralization, which one of the two is the need of the hour. At the same time, this can be even linked with prelims and its perspective can be revised in a manner. Sagarmala projects and PM Gati Shakti with regard to ports, bareboat charter cum demise. What is this? What this concept talks about? Then cabotage rules, what it is. For mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of federalism, wherein center and state autonomy with regard to port regulation can be linked and revised. Under the GS3 economy, ease of doing business versus small operators can be linked. Under the theme GS paper 3, security, maritime sovereignty, flag of convenience risk can be linked while going through this particular article. And GS paper 2, governance, wherein lack of parliamentary debate nowadays, when there is some important passage of bills is there, how it shows and what could be the impact of the weak formation of bills as of now can be quoted. So this is how this particular article is to be seen holistically. The next important article that is relevant to read in today's Hindu newspaper is about less than 40% of disabled persons have IDs needed for benefits. So now this is a very important article wherein vulnerable section, in particular a disabled person and disability, can be quoted. This will fall under GS paper 2, society and social justice in particular, and GS paper 1, society. Also, this can even be linked with GS paper 3, usage of digital media and digital India, also that ensures accessibility of basic services to these disabled persons can be quoted. From key theme, if I have to talk about what this article highlights, there is a major gaps in disability identification that leads to exclusion of these people from several important welfare schemes. From prelims perspective, the provisions that we have to revise while going through this particular article could be RPW Act 2016, UDID scheme under DEPWD, ADIP schemes benefits that can be quoted. This is relevant for GS paper 2, implementation gap that has been highlighted here, digital divide that is there, pending applications for these people to get themselves recognized as disabled person altogether. Under the theme GS1, society, wherein marginalization and politically underrepresentation of disabled person is there, that can be highlighted. Under the theme ethics GS4, wherein justice, empathy and equity can be quoted while going through this particular article. And in this manner, this particular article could be quoted. We can even go through the data with regard to how many percentage of Indians or India has disabled person altogether, and why it is needed to have certain provisions to protect these vulnerable sections also. Moving on, the next important article that is very much in the need of our to discuss about is, should reservation exceed the 50% cap? In every state, whenever the election season comes, the demand for election and reservation is so much to the level that there has always a debate surrounding that cap of 50%. Shall it be increased or not? So this will fall under GS paper 2 under the theme polity, and GS paper 1, society and essay ethics can also be quoted while going through this particular article. The key theme this particular article has highlighted talks about equality versus affirmative actions, wherein Article 15 and 16 had certain provisions to provide affirmative actions for the vulnerable sections of society altogether. From prelims perspective, the areas wherein we need to brush up our knowledge is about Indira Sohni case of 1992, which capped 50% of reservation ceiling. Then constitutional provision with regard to reservation. For mains perspective, this article holds relevance because there is a substantive versus formal equality that is need of the hour under the theme of GS paper 2. Concentration of benefits among the subcategorized caste itself is a high topic and debated among the people nowadays. Then under the theme GS1, wherein caste dynamics in society, how it works, there is a phenomena wherein forward caste are marking and they are asking for reservation. What this process is all about? This can even be quoted in essay paper as well, wherein equality, justice and social cohesion is the need of the hour that can be given an instance of. Moving on, the next important article that is relevant to read from today's Hindu newspaper talks about Jaishankar meets German foreign minister, pushes for EU-India FTA. Now, from the syllabus mapping point of view, this will fall under GS paper 2 IR and GS paper 3 economy with regard to trade. Then The key theme that has been discussed so far is about India-EU trade pact could be a stabilizer in global economy in nowadays. So from prelims perspective, the areas that we have to brush up our knowledge is on EU structure, European Union structure and its member state. Then India's major FTA partners till date. Afterwards, mains relevance, the same article can be seen from different dimensions. Primarily with regard to GS paper 2 strategic partnership, Russia-China challenge that we are facing to counter West nowadays. Under the theme GS3, wherein trade balance can be quoted, exports and employment can be quoted, and in essay, globalization is in flux right now. This can also be linked as a dimension while going through this particular article. The next important and relevant article that we have to read in today's Hindu newspaper is about incessant rains, extreme cold wreak havoc on a coffee heartland. Now, this is very much relevant because every year one or the other crop-based questions is being asked in prelims and also sometimes in mains as well. So while mapping GS syllabus, this particular topic will fall under GS paper 1 geography, wherein agricultural pattern and major crops can be quoted. This is also relevant for GS paper 3, wherein economy, agricultural change that can be quoted. The key theme that has been discussed while going through this particular article talks about climate vulnerability of commercial crops altogether. From prelims perspective, this article is relevant with regard to coffee growing region, type of coffee, example Arabica and Robusta, disease that affects the coffee plants, that's examples black rot disease and berry drop. India's rank in global coffee production, also at the same time exports as well, export destination of coffee plants that India has with other countries. From mains perspective, the same article can be seen with regard to GS3, wherein impact of climate change on agriculture can be quoted. GS3, wherein farmer income and crop insurance with regard to commercial crops such as coffee can be quoted and brushed up our knowledge on. Also with regard to GS1, wherein regional geography, in particular Karnataka coffee belt is affected. So in this manner, this particular article is to be seen. Moving on, the last important article for the day is on Science and Tech page, and that talks about how Majorana particles promise to shield quantum computers from noise. Now, this falls under GS paper through core science and tech topic. The theme that has been discussed in this particular topic talk about Majorana feminines can stabilize quantum computers against noise. From prelims perspective, the very basic terms and terminologies that can be revised while going through particular article is about fermions versus bosons versus anyons, the application of quantum computing altogether. From mains perspective, the same article is to be seen through the lens of India's quantum computing mission. It could be a disruptive technology, and in ethics, we can link this particular article with regard to tech governance and security implication as well. So this is all from my end from today's Hindu newspaper. Till we meet for the next time, take care and goodbye.